I have to commit myself to the whole program. And what is the whole program? It's a 5-step program. So Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga. Karma Yoga, you most of you know what Karma Yoga is. Those of you who don't know what Karma Yoga is, you definitely need to read the books and understand about Karma Yoga. There's satsangs on it, plenty of them, so forth and so on. You need to be very clear about Karma Yoga, because that's the foundation. If you don't know, if you think Karma Yoga is just selfless service at an ashram or working at a food kitchen, you're wrong. That's not Karma Yoga. That could qualify as Karma Yoga if you understood what the Karma Yoga philosophy is, what the knowledge behind the Karma Yoga is. But so you commit to Karma Yoga first, and then Upasana Yoga is meditation. And meditation here means what? Getting rid of unwanted thoughts. And you can't get rid of unwanted thoughts unless you do Karma Yoga. Because if you just can remove thoughts and get in a peaceful meditative state, but you haven't done your Karma Yoga, then those thoughts are going to come right back, because Karma Yoga actually removes those vasanas as they come up, if you're doing it properly. And then the third stage is, we call it Jnana Yoga, and that has 3 phases or 3 stages. That one is then once you got the foundation in place, then you can listen to what the teacher's saying. And normally, we got a rule in there. It's called the 5, 10, 15 rule, which doesn't mean literally 5, 10, or 15 years. But the 5, 10, 15 rule says you need to listen for 5 years. Well, why does it sound like, geez, I want to get to the goal? Well, yeah, you want to get to the goal, but you want to be clear about, what the teachings are before you just go off half-cocked. Because most people think, particularly spiritual people, they think that they know a lot because they've been in the spiritual world for a long time. And most of them haven't learned a lot. In fact, they're mistaking what they think is not. They're mistaking ignorance for knowledge. And so there's going around spouting, think they know a lot, but it's actually ignorance. So we say you have to listen for a long time until you're capable of listening. And that obviously it depends upon whether your mind is reasonably under control, owing to what your meditation and your Karma Yoga. And then the second stage is assimilating what you've, or let's say removing doubts. Assimilation is next. But all these stages all blend into one another. I'm just breaking it up a little bit for the sake of understanding. The second stage is removing doubts, because what you hear is going to be a radical teaching. It's going to be counterintuitive. Vedanta is a completely counterintuitive teaching. And this is like learning this apple. and it's a lot of it's just totally counterintuitive. In fact, the whole internet is counterintuitive, but they can't undo it now. It's too late. So we just have to learn all these little stupid things. I mean, basically, if you could just, I could design an internet that would work really fast and easy for everybody and so forth and so on, but it's never going to happen, right? Because ignorance is like baked into the system. So in the second stage of the teaching, I look at what I've heard, what I think and feel, let's put it that way, my opinions and beliefs and ideas and dreams and fantasies. I look at all that in light of what I've heard, and whenever I discover that what I'm thinking and feeling contradicts what the teaching says, not the teacher. The teacher is just a mouthpiece for the teaching. If what I believe and think and feel contradicts the teaching, then what do I have to do? I have to jettison, I throw away, get rid of. Sorry about, I use some big words, I'm sorry. I need to get rid of those ideas and feelings and beliefs and opinions that what? That contradict the teaching. The teaching is just the truth about reality, how reality is. It's not the truth. It's just what is, what's true for everybody and everything. There's one principle operating here that's true. And then there's the opposite principle, which is ignorance. And that's causing all the problems. So in the second stage, what do? Well, I get rid of all these things. So basically you think, well, just a minute here. I just accumulated all this spiritual knowledge and now I've got to get rid of it all? Yes. That's profoundly unsettling. It's really difficult. It's really painful. And very few people do it because they've invested so much in what they think and feel. And they because they've invested so much that it's right and it's good for them. And so they don't, it doesn't work. And in the third stage, then what? And this is all, again, the stages are all a flow. And then I need to what? Apply the knowledge to my life. Once I'm clear about what it is, I need to make an application. We call that assimilation. That's the final stage. It says, what use is it to say I'm enlightened and to know what the truth is unless I'm living the truth, unless I'm an embodiment of truth? So these are the changes. Now, how do you okay. Let's see, let's put this, how are we going to change these? How are we going to get this thing going and do it and take advantage of this negativity that we have? Remember in the churning story, the gods couldn't do it. The good people, there's the good side of yourself, the spiritual side of yourself, and we're all good people. We all got a good side, and we're all, earnest and straightforward and good and so forth and so on. Clean living and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we've all got this negative stuff. It's unfortunate stuff. And the gods were told by the scripture, by Vishnu in the story, but it represents the scripture, that they need to communicate with the demons, the dark part. So those two parts need to get together, and working together, they can churn this ocean and get this bliss or this butter, this bliss that is operating in you all the time. And how do you do that? Well, if you practice if you do Vedanta, your karma yoga, and your particularly karma yoga, you're going to discover that there are two forces that are operating there. One is agitation. It's agitation and dullness, sleepiness and busyness. And that state of mind, you're dull and you're stupid and you're lazy. And that's like, okay, so what, man? And, let's have another beer. Let's smoke another doobie. Let's smoke another joint. Well, I don't know, even joints and doobies, I don't know if they say them anymore. In my day, when I was a doper, those were the words, but let's have another, puff on a marijuana cigarette. So there's those two states of mind. One is an agitated state of mind, busy. I gotta do, mind just going like that. The other is a dull state of mind. That state of mind itself produces negative values. And so on one side, the human personality it's a split personality, you could say. And that doesn't know, and let's not use schizophrenic, because schizophrenic is a word that's got all kinds of pejorative and uncomfortable meanings, and anybody can, it's just a negative term. But this negativity, this split, which produces problems, obviously it's causing problems, can be utilized intelligently to grow for your spiritual growth. And the other side of the mind, aside from this dull and active state of mind, is a clear state of mind. We call that sattva. And karma yoga moves the mind from what? Slowly, slowly, gradually, because karma yoga, you have to practice it every day. Karma yoga moves gradually, what? Eliminates the vasanas, and the mind gets more and more clear and peaceful. Because that's what you want. To understand these teachings, you're going to need a clear, open, peaceful mind to understand it. So, and that state of mind generates what? Positive values. When you're in sattva guna, we call it sattva guna. Guna means quality. When you're in when the quality of your mind is sattvic or pure or clean or still or whatever you want to call it, you all know what it is. It's a matter of experience for you. And you generate what? Positive values. And what? When your mind is negative, you generate rajasic, tamasic, dull, and active. You generate what? Negative values. So how can you deal with that in the moment? In the moment. If you've got enough sattva, in other words, if your mind is clear enough, you are able to identify the state of mind you're in, because you can't do this yoga, you can't do this transformation unless you can identify your state of mind, and objectify your state of mind. Most people are their state of mind. So that means what? You'll say, oh, today I'm oh God, I'm so tired, I'm so, or say, oh God, I'm really just so angry and agitated. Man, I'm just so busy. I just don't, you see how the I, which is what is your awareness, has been so hypnotized by those gunas, or so diluted by tamaguna and rajaguna, that it thinks it is those things. It believes that it is. You're never rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic. You're never dull or agitated or clear. You're always just awareness. That's just a fact. And awareness is never affected by those. So, first of all, I need to have done enough work so that I can monitor my states of mind. Because people write me all the time and they say, most of the time everything's good, and sometimes I don't even know that I exist. They're just that I exist, or that I'm aware. And then I finally realized, oh, I'm not doing my sadhana anymore. I'm not doing my inquiry anymore, because they're completely blacked out by that dark, sludgy samskara that just wipes them out. So how do you do this? Well, I'm going to give you a few key words. We won't dwell on them. There's the whole list is in the chapter. What is it? Oh, the book. My book called The Yoga of the Three Gunas, Yoga of the Three Energies. It's all those how to do that. It's explained in there. It's toward the end of the book. You can get the book. It's only 10 euros. And go to that chapter and read it. I started refining it today just for that list, just for the satsang, and I didn't get the whole list done, but I started organizing it in a different way and explaining it in such a way that you can use this knowledge to attack this problem. And so, and remember, we started this whole thing before the Milky Ocean. We started talking about projection and denial. And we said denial causes projection. In other words, denial is not knowing what you are or who you are. It's not knowing something, and then you don't know something, then you project on the world, you or something outside in the world triggers you, and then you get involved or attracted to that thing, and then you don't notice what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. You project it. So you're angry, and somebody says, geez, you're an angry person. You say, I'm not angry. Of course you're angry, but you don't see it. And they actually believe they're not angry. And they say, I'm not angry. So denial and defensiveness, and they're defensive, right? You need to defend your ignorance. See how perverted and twisted the mind can get, it says here. So, and so if you can catch yourself in a state of denial, what should you do? Immediately deny the denial. Because that denial is limiting you. What's it doing? It's keeping you bottled up in that feeling. But if you say, this feeling is not real, this is not me, I am the what? The knower of that feeling. If somebody says in other words, if somebody says, Jesus, you're angry, calm down, immediately what you do, you say, no, I'm not angry. No. Look at that statement from someone, if it takes somebody else. It's a shame that it has to take another person to tell you this, but if it does, you should see that person as your own self telling you what to look at your own mind. And it's much better if you recognize it yourself and shut down that anger, switch to what? Oh, that's not real. That can't be me. I'm not that way. I'm really a beautiful person. I'm really a whole and complete, blissful, beautiful person. Now, that's something you do have control over. Understand? The basic field of existence, you're never going to change that. No individual can change that. But you've got a little portion of existence, your existence, that you do have certain kind of control over. So what? So you exercise that control by using your free will. That's what's called free will. You exercise a free will to what? To deny the denial. And what? And and what is the projection that comes from that denial of the denial? I'm beautiful, I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm perfect. That wasn't me. That was just the past. That was just habit. That was just an old samskara coming out. That's not me. And another person, you can say, oh yeah, you're right, sorry, yeah, I'm a little bit stressed out today, this and that happened, I'm angry, and I'm anxious, or whatever it is, and I'm sorry. And as soon as you acknowledge it, and what the pressure, that bubble of disturbance just disappears, it deflates. You could say bubbles deflate. Attachment. What did that say here? Vedanta, this is the teaching. This is the great Ramji wrote this up this afternoon. It's an Upanishad. You can count on it. Vedanta is a life raft. Hang onto the teachings and don't let go. So if you're attached to what? MSP, money, sex, power, or fame, all that stuff. If you're attached to all these things, what? When you find the attachment, and attachment doesn't feel good. When you're attached to something, it doesn't feel. If it feels good, you've normalized something that's really abnormal, and then you're in a pickle. And that's very common to think that you feel good when you're feeling good because you're attached to something that isn't really going to support you in the long run, whatever that is. So what do you do? What do? You attach yourself to the teaching and don't let go. In other words, keep the idea I'm whole and complete, unborn, limitless, non-dual, actionless, ordinary, ever-present awareness. Any one of those works, put them all together and just contemplate on that. And as soon as you start thinking like that, watch your state of mind switch. It's like magic. Your whole state of mind will just switch. And there may be the disturbance, will just shrink. It may not go away completely for a while, but it will go away as long as you maintain that thought. Sometimes as soon as you think that thought, it just goes poof. And what was that? Which means it wasn't real in the first place. If you can remove it, it's not real. And So anger, here's another one. I'm just taking a few of the garden variety emotions that we all have that are important emotions to think about. Anger. Be angry when you realize that you are not doing your 3 yogas. In other words, you're not following the path. You're not doing self-inquiry. Chide yourself. Scold yourself and punish yourself. Oh, Ramji, oh, how mean. Are you a pervert? No, I'm not. I don't want to punish myself. Yeah, well, I don't want to pay my taxes either, but I can't go to the court and tell the judge, oh, Your Honor, you can't put me in jail for that because I didn't do anything. Failure to pay your taxes is a doing. And failure to do your spiritual practice is what? The worst thing you can do. What does it do? It destroys your life. You just become an empty shell, a boring, tired, sad person, an unhappy person. So desire. What do? I desire. And what's producing desire? Desires, fantasies, so forth and so on. When this state of mind is there, this desirous state of mind, then what? You get hypnotized and deluded, and you start fantasizing. You start imagining. That's a projection. Fantasies are projections. And you start imagining that you're enlightened. For instance, you can't be enlightened because you're the light. The light is not enlightened. It doesn't work. You can say I'm enlightened, but you're living in a fantasy world. Because, understand? You can say I'm the light, and if you know what it means, and you better know what that means to say I'm the light, or they're gonna call the little man in white coats and haul you off, or medicate you, or do whatever it is, because nobody wants to deal with a person who thinks they're in some kind of higher state and better than anybody else. So distrust. Here's another one. Fear, distrust. This is when it's hard to recognize. This is where this fear, or this causes our distrust. We think what? We don't believe that life is a benevolent, benign force. We don't believe that. We think it's out to get us. We always want to have our butt covered, so nobody sneaks up behind it and gives us the business. And we're always worried that something's going to hurt us and injure us, that something's going to go wrong. And when you find yourself in that state and it may be so normal that when you tell a person, I know I found this a lot. This is the most difficult and most implacable state of mind to speak to. People, even people who are highly evolved, actually fall into this thing. They actually are ready to defend their fears. But precaution is smart. But precaution is a calculated intellectual value, good value. It's recommended in the Gita. But what? Just insisting that something is going wrong, or has gone wrong, or is about to go wrong, holding that feeling. It's an awful feeling to have that. It's a painful feeling. Your whole body tenses up and gets tight because of that feeling. You don't even notice your body's tight when you're feeling like that. It's just so overpowering. Then what do you do? What do you do with that? You just apply the teaching. That's all. You look at the world around you, and you look at this wonderful instrument you've given, and see how everything is doing its job here. Right? People who are fearful just can't see that. that everything is looking after everything else, that this is a marvelous, loving, benevolent, kind reality here. And when it does whack us, it's whacking us what? For our own good. In other words, hey, hit me again, Ishwara, Lord, God, whatever you want to call it. I needed that. I'm a bit of a pinhead or a blockhead. I'm a little dull here. I'm pig-headed. I'm stubborn, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I acknowledge these faults. They're not my fault, so I can't blame myself because nobody chooses to be ignorant. Anyway, there's a whole list. I won't go on any further. You get the idea how you just turn it around. And Byron Katie had that thing. If anybody has any questions for a few minutes, you can put them in the chat room, and then we'll take a 5-minute break. You can get a cup of tea or whatever it is, and then soon we'll sit here